What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Black Mental Health Podcast. I'm your host, Reg. Joined today with me is a very special guest. I know I say it a lot, but everybody has a very special place when I talk to them. And the guy I have on today, well, before I get to the guest for the day, I just want to thank everybody for subscribing, for the views, for the listens, for the shares, for the support. Like, every little bit count. I read every little comment. I appreciate every little thing because it's a lot of work that going. And I know that this platform is helping a lot of people, and a lot of people are hearing stories that can relate to their lives. So I just want to say thank you. Now, back to our guest. I met my special guest in an accountability group, and it was basically me just trying to hold myself accountable to the things that I wanted to attain in life. So I started reaching out to different avenues to figure out where I want to go and who can help me get there. So I remember having so many conversations with our guests, and we would stay on the phone for hours and just talking. And I know more recently he just got off for parole, so I was like, man, it's a perfect time to share your story and just talk to people. But he's a life coach. I don't even like calling life coach. We don't like that word. He's a transformational coach. And he's here to tell his story, Mr. Joe Burnett.
What's up? What's up?
Well, I guess give the people a little bit of background. I know this is a mental health platform, and you had your own struggle. So I guess give a little people a little background about like what you do and why you do it.
Well, I grew up around that environment where someone in my house, as a child, my mother had a mental illness. She was diagnosed with different things, different doctors. Somebody gave her schizophrenia. Somebody gave her chronic depression, or what was the other one? I can't even remember the other one, but she was just diagnosed with multiple things. So, but we knew she was on medicine. We knew she had a psychological disorder. So just growing up in that environment, seeing my mother depressed, just down on medicine, and she couldn't work. She couldn't hold a job. She lived minimum wage, just off the government funding, and growing up in the projects and stuff like that. It showed me what I didn't want with my life. It showed me what not to do. Not saying my mother made a mistake, but just being around it as a child, it makes your heart heavy. So you want better for yourself. So I played football growing up. I was an athlete, ran track, basketball, and went to college. I only went to college because my family told me to, right? So walked on college football. And then I also hit a stump in my life with relationships. A lot of people don't know this, but I attempted suicide before as well. A relationship or something went bad, and I took a lot of pills, hoping, you know what I'm saying, whatever the misery will be over, but it didn't. I didn't succeed. So I ended up going to the hospital, and a lot of more things took place then. But after bouncing back from all of that, I joined the military, and I commissioned as a lieutenant. In the midst of all of this, I ended up getting married. I ended up having my first child, my first daughter, and then everything else went rock bottom from there. So I commissioned, I moved to the state of Texas. After I moved to the state of Texas, I had orders to go to a unit at Fort Sam Houston, located in San Antonio. And my mother had just died. I mean, I skipped over that, but my mother had died my senior year of college. So after that had taken place, that just sent me into a dark place, a deep place that I've never known. But having a young wife, I used the term young wife, but having a young wife at the time, and both of us never been married, both of us never went to marital counseling or none of that stuff. We just clashed, and we became enemies. And so just going through that, and my mother's death, and being in the military, and working and taking care of my daughter, it was too much for me. So personally, I hit a mental rock bottom. That's a place where your heart hardens, and you're just trying to make it through whatever situation you're going through with whatever effort that you got left. And transitioning into that, I started drinking. I started smoking Black and Miles. I didn't smoke. I never smoked. And I moved to Houston because I was in the reserves. I didn't have to stay on base. And then one day, me and my ex, we got into it about a bed. I bought a brand new mattress. We was moving into an apartment. And I started drinking. I had Four Locos. I don't know if anybody in Philly know about them Four Locos. That's something serious.
No, they was, man.
Yes.
It was a weave.
Yes, yes. I think they changed the making of it, the substance of it, because of its effect. But I drank 2 of them. And so I got into it with my ex at the time. And then I ended up spanking my daughter. She was acting up at the same time, but she was at a young age. She was still 1 year old. So after going through all of that, I left, stormed out the doors, you know, and my ex came. Next thing I knew, the police was there, you know. So I didn't walk up in the place. I didn't walk in the back in the apartment. I didn't go in there. I just stayed in my car. And so I just drove around. I didn't know what she was doing. I'm thinking in my head, what the hell is she doing? You know, what's going on? But I came back and no one was there later on that evening. And 2, 3, 4 days, a week passed, and I didn't hear nothing from her. So I called her parents. I called the hospitals. I called everywhere. Didn't get nowhere with it. So after that, I think I had came back from an interview, and I heard a knock at my door. And I looked through the window. I'm like, dang, it's the police. They lined up in formation, stacked position. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, this ain't going to be that bad. I'll probably just go to jail, and they give me some type of anger management and yada, yada, yada. So I open the door. They come in, arrest me. I went to Harris County City Jail. And then I end up going to the bench, like you sit at a window in front of the attorney. And then he somehow came up with a number. He said, hey, looking to give you 4 years. I said, 4 years? Wow. I'm looking like, I said, wait. I'm like, hold on. What name is on this paper? Like, I didn't kill nobody. I didn't do this or do that. But it turns out my wife my wife at the time ended up saying some things that wasn't true, and just made the situation worse, because at the time, like I said, we were enemies. We became enemies in this situation. So one thing led to another. I ended up bonding out. I moved to Florida, got back on my feet, going to court, fighting the case, showed them I was in the military, did everything in the book that you could do. Went to my final court date, and they sentenced me to 4 years in prison. I never got in trouble, never had a record, nothing. And I went to court, even in my military uniform. I was a lieutenant, so the guys that actually took me in the back, the officers, they was, yes, sir. They was appalled too, you know. So it was an experience, man. It was something that I never thought would happen to me. And going through that, that even did something to my mind, because I barely even remember it. You can be in a position where you're so shocked or surprised, or some people call it a panic attack, but not. And your mind just, you're zoned out. You're like a zombie, and you don't even remember the situation. You just get a heat rush, or like a high level of being nervous before you speak, right? So going through that, going through prison, I finally went to prison. Don't know what to expect. Don't know what's gonna happen. Don't know how it's gonna be. You see it on TV, but now I'm living it. So I just observed, paid attention to everything, and my true self ended up coming out. I end up finding out that people draw to me. Older guys, even in their 60s, some 70s, old enough to be my father, will come to me for advice, will come to me for conversation. Um, and that showed me, and I dove into the word of God. I dove into what God had to say about things, because that was the only source of contentment, or only place that I can go where I can be sane, keep my sanity around all this stuff. So I end up training people in prison, man. I taught people how to box. I taught people how to work out. We did, plyometric exercises, calisthenics, squats, all type of stuff, man. And I was a leader. Everything that I learned in the military, everything that I learned playing sports, everything that was in me came out in that worst situation. And so that gave me more confidence about who I was, because if I trained people and I did these things in the worst place possible that you can do it on earth, what more can I do when I'm out, when I'm free, So just experiencing that gave me confidence in who I am and my purpose, And I plan on writing a book pretty soon, finding your gift in prison, So but I end up getting out, and I remind you, I'm from Alabama. I'm not from Texas. So when I got out, they sent me to a what is it called? Transitional housing.
Halfway house?
Halfway house, basically. But it was a center. This was buildings. Where it was about 4 or 5 buildings with a barbed wire fence around. So it's like I was still in prison. So I'm like, man, this is bull crap. Everybody around smoking, they call it spice. Some people call it tunchi, or that fake marijuana, synthetic marijuana. Yeah, at K2, exactly. And so I just didn't want to be in that environment, man. And I heard a call to go to a halfway house. They said, anybody want to go to Lieutenant's house and come down to the parole office? I hopped up out my bed, ran in there, signed the papers. I was out the same day. Mm. In that situation, man, they had us working, picking up trash along the freeways every day except for Sunday, working 12-hour shifts, making $10 a week. Mm. So that was in between July and August of 2000, and the hottest part of the year, located in Houston, Texas. Mm. So after experiencing that, I started thinking to myself, I remember the last time I was there, they gave us $10 that at the end of that week. And then they feed you, they give you, chips and Gatorade and a sandwich to eat during the day for lunch, but they feed you for breakfast as well. But that's not enough. The whole 190-pound, 200-pound man, So the money that they give you during the week, the $10, you spending that on food, to eat during the week to sustain that energy that they want you to put out. And so just when I got that $10, man, I was like, man, God, I'm worth more than this now, man. Like I said, I know you humbling me right now, whatever. I said, but I know I'm worth more. I know if I can go out and get a job, I'm worth more than this, So I started thinking to myself, I said, okay, I'm not doing this no more. I said, this is, if I can work cleaning up toilets, making $8 an hour, that's better than this, bro. Like, for real. So
right.
I packed up all my stuff, dipped out. I went to and fro. I lived in Corpus Christi. I lived in Amarillo, Texas. I lived in Houston. I went back to Alabama. So I'm trying to position myself so that I can have some type of stability once I got out. Long story short, opportunities started opening up for me. Like I said, we got into the accountability group, and money started coming in. The more that I used my gift, the more I saw God position me. He would reposition me the more that I used what was in me naturally.
Right.
And mentally, it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
But anything that you set your mind to and you don't stop, you don't quit, you will see progression and you'll see success coming your way. So, but I'm here now. So I
Well,
made it.
well, explain that because there was a lot to unpack there. So, how did
Yeah.
it feel like? I guess being in jail, knowing that your daughter was out there, knowing what you probably went through as a young man, chasing girls and stuff. Like, how did you feel being ripped away from your daughter during that time period?
It wasn't just my daughter either.
Okay.
My ex-wife, she was pregnant at the time when all
Oh.
that stuff happened. So I missed my son being born.
Mm.
My son.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard, man. That was probably on levels with my mother's death. That was those two things. It all happened within 6 months.
Right.
So that was the hardest thing I ever experienced in my life. I've never experienced things where you experiencing trauma inside your mental and spiritual trauma, as well as environmental shift, a change, just like that. You know, you go from being a lieutenant in the United States Army to being in prison, just like that. So being away from my kid, my daughter, I always told myself that I would take care of my kids because my father wasn't there. So I made that oath within myself. So just being in that situation made me feel like a failure. You know, like, how did I let this happen? This was the last thing you know what I mean? I would have wanted to happen. So that was tough being patient in that time and still maintaining or trying to have hope. That's the hardest thing you can do because you don't see no hope. So.
Right. And I know it's funny that you said that because everything that I'm looking at your name and then looking about hearing your story. I'm like, it remind me of Joseph in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to go through all of them trials and tribulations to get to his spot. And like you said, his outside world wasn't looking nothing like what he imagined within himself. And it's crazy that you said that about like one mistake can change the whole trajectory of where you were going in your life.
Yep.
I have a close friend right now that's about to face some time in jail off of a mistake. He wasn't even intentionally doing so. I'm gonna have him on the podcast to explain his story more. But and one of my messages when I come talk to the kids, like, yo, one mistake can change your whole trajectory of your life.
Exactly. Exactly. That's all it takes.
One.
That's it. That's why now I don't get it. No altercation. Hey, you bad. You got it, bro. You tough. You tough guy. You know what I'm saying? It's a lose-lose. You know,
no, it really is.
Exactly. Unless you protecting yourself, your family, just walk away, man. You know?
I learned that having my son, that was what humbled me because I was a firecracker that like snapped at every second. Like and mind you, half of the stuff wasn't worth snapping off of, but now I have something that's more important than what that person just said. Yep. I don't have nothing to prove nothing to nobody now or nothing to say to anybody because you know that one mistake can end everything for you. Like
exactly.
So were you able to like reconstruct the relationship with them after you came home, or how was that transition?
Man, that was favor from God, man, because when I was in Florida, my dad bummed me out, and I remember just praying, and praying to God saying that I want to be in my kid's life, praying to God saying, you know, I want to do something good. This is a part of your will. So I'm presenting it to him and I'm having faith. And I didn't see it coming to fruition until I got incarcerated. So a month after I got incarcerated, I get letters from my family saying, man, your wife is acting up. She doing crazy stuff. You know, they saying stuff, but they ain't telling me nothing. So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm writing letters and sending them out. Like, hold on, now don't leave me hanging like that.
Right.
So my sister then told me that my ex lost custody of the kids. She did. So she tried to put them up for adoption. And the agency, I think it was CPS or something, they ended up contacting my aunt. So my auntie ended up taking them in and getting custody of my kids. And so with that was kind of like God halfway answering my prayers, because now I have access to them without any hindrance or any problems, you see? And so once I got out, then of course, I Skyped them or Zoom, whatever,
FaceTime,
and I saw them, and talked to them. So that was new. That was a blessing. And my family sent me pictures when I was in there. Sent me, I think it's called JPay. They sent it through JPay, so I can see pictures of my children, so that I can be able to see them grow. Even though I'm not there, I saw my son when he was a baby at 1. I pictured myself, imagine myself holding them and playing with them and stuff like that. So just to have that favor, man, that's one thing I can say, that prayer really, it changes you and it changes things too. But it changed you first, and it works. It's real to be able to speak things and affirm things in the universe or in the world according to God's will. So just experiencing that, man, that showed me that I do have power, and that God do want me to be in my kids' life in spite of anything that may come forth, So right now, we in the midst of working out legal things too, so that I can have shared custody with my aunt, so that she can be kind of like the mediator between me and my ex, because you already know how that is. So,
So
but it's a blessing, man.
I'm gonna get off of the subject, but the government didn't see favor the fact that towards your case, because she tried to give them up. I would think they would be like, oh well, because she tried to give them up, it will have some impact or some type of impact on your case because of what she was an unfit parent.
No, man, the judicial system in Texas, Department of Criminal Justice is strict, man. It's something serious. In order for me to have had some type of leeway with that, I probably would still be incarcerated trying to fight that.
Wow.
It's a process, So I just got out on parole, man. I just, we thought about it, but you have to get a lawyer and file these papers and do this and do that, and it's a big hassle. But favor was on my side.
Right.
It turned out for my favor regardless. Yep.
So, about your mom, I know you said she was struggling with her own mental issues while you were growing up, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Enlighten me, because I often get this question, or no, I don't even say I get this question. I think about it. Take me back to when you were a little boy. How would you have what would your suggestion be to a little person, a child that's in that same type of predicament? Like, what can they do to even survive or deal with those things that their parents are going through, because they're at a young age?
At a young age, it's hard to understand sympathy and empathy for your parent concerning that issue. You can have sympathy and empathy, or what am I trying to say? You can have sympathy for your parent because you love them. Like if mom failed, or if dad, something happened, you say, Mom, Dad, you okay? Things like that. But when it's mental, it's different, because you can't see that, you can't fully understand it, and it harms you.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, my mother would go, she hated taking all those medicines. She took 10 plus medicines a day. If she missed one, it's going to have a toll on her. It's going to affect her. So sometimes she'll go back into her, she'll have what they call it, an episode. And then she'll have to be into those mental hospitals. Just like being institutions. Yeah, just like being in prison. Can't go nowhere, So having her leave and go like that at 8, at 9, at 10, that was difficult. So I had put up a wall, and I developed an instinct not to get close to people or not to, you know what I mean? So uh, as a child, I would probably say just try to have uh, sympathy and empathy for your parent or for anybody that's going through that, which is not easy, but that's the only way to understand or to have the strength to endure it, is just to care for them more than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So most children, especially if they're not the oldest, don't have that instinct to
Mm-hmm.
care for the parent or care for someone more than themselves, because they're not the oldest, or they're not, you know what I mean, put in the position of authority or, uh, you know, responsibility. So I was the youngest child. So that
Mm-hmm.
was kind of awkward for me to understand the situation. I just drew back, you see. But the only way to get through it from a child's point of view is, you know how it is, the little sister taking care of the little brother, the
Yep.
mom's on crack,
Right.
the dad left the home, so she got to hold the responsibility and, be tough. And that's the only thing you can do
Mm-hmm.
is just have that mindset where you just care enough or care more than your parent than for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So
Talk more about, I guess, why you felt that you needed to make that, to get into like the transformational coaching, because some people will be like, well, I already have a lot of stuff in my life that I got to fix. Why
yeah,
waste my time or trying to help somebody else's?
yeah, yeah. I Man, it started, man. I grew up in the projects. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like I grew up in some projects called Gate City in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was hard out there, man. So I've seen people get killed, get shot down right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So after those things happen, or before they happened, my mother didn't let me go outside. She would allow me to go outside at my grandparents' house, which was down the street.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was at home, I would just look in the window, and watch everybody play outside. So I'm studying human behavior. I'm studying body language and habits and people's personality as 7, 8, 9 years old. I didn't want to watch TV. I'm just looking at everybody play. So that was one big thing that that kind of molded me into learning the personal development and learning human behavior and how people are, learning different personalities. And I learned how to navigate myself through different people personalities. And it started then. Also, just experiencing that with my mother, it prepared me to go to college I minored in psychology.
Okay.
So that prepared me, that really molded me to want to know more about the brain, how the brain works and the chemicals. I would see her take certain medicines, Ipraxi and all these different medicines, and it would just change how she act. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait a minute, what's going on? I'm seeing this as a child.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and as well, having that leadership in the Army, you know what I'm saying? Uh, that's the first time I really met people that were from different cultures, from different countries, from different states, a broad base of races and mixed and all this stuff. So it made me more interested in people, more interested in culture. I was more open-minded to those things. So the collaboration of all of that and what took place when I was incarcerated, which gave me the confidence. And also reading the Word of God. I forgot
Mm-hmm.
to mention that when I was 19, I first read it was a little Gideon's Bible. Somebody gave me, it was a green Gideon's Bible I kept in my pocket. It had Psalms and Proverbs and the New Testament in it. So I read that, and just getting that wisdom, that knowledge, from everything collaborating all into one package, it made me realize, and I like people. I
Mm-hmm.
like helping people. It fulfills me to help others, help their life or better their life or whatever. And it's satisfying, man. I'm good at it. Who don't like doing stuff they good at?
Right. Right.
Um, and it's just it's fulfilling. To me, that's what every person is created for, is to serve. If you ain't serving, man, you ain't doing nothing. You ain't doing that. It ain't no way to live on earth and be productive and be successful and not serve. You know, so just going through everything in my life, man, and putting it all in one. It's just like seasoning. You season the meat, you making a good meal, you putting everything into one package, and it's gonna be a good recipe. It's gonna be a good dinner.
Right.
That's kind of how it was with me. Just going through everything and seeing the effects that I had in my life. I wish I did have somebody say, "Hey, look out, Joe. You know, don't make this move or do this, or this is how relationships should go. This is how you should court. You know, this is how you should treat yourself. This is what men do. You get yourself situated and established first, then you open your doors up for a woman to take care of her. You see, the date and things like that." So I didn't have nobody to talk to me about those things. I had to learn them myself. So that compassion that I have for others, I don't want them to go through the same struggle, especially my kids and other kids that's growing up. The things that I had to learn on my own. So it's a love that you got to have as well to be able to coach and to speak and to do all those things. It's a higher love that you got to have, and that's what fulfilled me more than anything. So,
were you ever worried that like anything from your mom's history of mental illness was gonna like come into your world?
Never worried, but I was aware of it. Because most of the time, if you surround yourself around any environment, you're going to become a product of it in some way, somehow.
Right.
So I can still see even some ways how I speak. My mother, she's a deep thinker. She want to be very, precise and specific about everything. And just her fear, how she always thinking about the past. You know, I remember when I used to always tell my mama, quit talking about the past, that's old. That's it. We want to set our mind on the future, Ma. I have to remind her sometimes. And I can see myself, I have to tell myself that sometimes, because we tend to think about what we've been through. You try to find joy from that and gratitude from it, but you can't think about it in depth. You can kind of linger into it a little bit too much. But in that sense, those things, I conjure up and I try to control. They come up. But other than that, man, I am not a product of my environment. I have transformed my mind personally. I haven't stepped into it in its fullness. Most of us haven't either. But I can see my way clear to just that new mindset, that new way of life that I have for myself and that I'm creating for myself and others.
Well, it seemed like faith played a big part into your faith in the Bible and God and stuff like that. That played a part in you keeping your sanity, because you went through so much where you could have behaved the other way. You know how some people get out of jail and the jail made them that way. Was that the reason why you're able to transition? Like you're able to put jail as like a moment and not succumb to that moment. You know, some people go to jail and then they become a whole different animal because they have to be while they're in jail.
Yeah.
Like, how were you able to navigate that? You said people were drawn to you, but you could also have been drawn to certain people.
Yeah. Before I went to prison, I knew I read God's word. I actually taught it in college at the church for the college students. But I had confidence in God. I had confidence in the word. I knew it was truth. I knew that was true more than anything. But I drew to what I knew when I got there. And it just gives you confidence, And walking in that situation at the time, I didn't see what was taking place. I didn't see what was happening. But I walked with boldness. I feared no man. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So being in that situation and walking with God and being meditating on His word, like that showed me how powerful God really is and how powerful his word is and how much confidence we should have in his word, because I'm not the biggest guy in the world. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the toughest. I'm not the smartest. I'm not the, whatever. But people respect realness. And when you in a room, it was a big day room. I think it was up to 50, 40 people in one room, big old room. People gonna tell, you can tell who's fronting, who's over. Mind you in this room with people for 3, 6, 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
You can, sooner or later, you're gonna tell
We're gonna
somebody's
figure it out.
behavior. So
Yeah, right.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right,
so
right.
the truth, the realness gonna come out.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am endowing myself, encouraging myself in the word of God, which is true, that which I'm focused on and I'm studying and that's going to come out. And so people respect truth more than they respect holiness, or I wasn't walking and being I'm holier than thou and like a monk and stuff with white clothes. Nah, come on, man. I was just being real.
Right.
And it don't matter who you are. People respect that. People respect that. I slept next to rapists, murderers, thieves, manipulators. I done seen all those spirits, all those people. I've seen them manipulate the female guards, bringing them food and all type of stuff, bro. So when you walk in a room and somebody's cussing and they stop cussing because you there, I know that it's not because of me. It's because of what's in me. It's because of him.
Right.
So just experiencing that and seeing that, I was like, man, I wasn't so naive. I wasn't dumb enough to think it was me. I was like, man, God, you're powerful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking about killers. So to be around that and to see that, it gave me more confidence in Jesus Christ. It gave me confidence in my faith. So if I can, if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. So
what was the biggest thing you learned from people? You're a coach, so I can ask you this question. And the people watching, what was the biggest thing that you observed for people in jail, rapists, killers, that they're regular people, but they just did things, and people will look at them like these are the people from our communities too that we need, and they're getting ripped away. So what was your biggest observation about them? Even though they weren't bad people, they just did bad things.
Like I said earlier, I was a lieutenant in the United States Army. So I sat in front of generals. I've had conversations with lieutenant colonels and people of high rank in the government and the military. And I've sat in front of rapists and killers and whatever kind of titles you want to give them. All of them are men. So just being in that situation, I realized that they are the same. They all fear. They all doubt. They all don't know everything. They all have. If you're a manipulator as a civilian, you're a manipulator in the army. If you are conniving and selfish, as a man, you're gonna be a selfish, conniving president. It don't matter what title you hold or what you call that person. They are who they are. So just experiencing that will separate them or will separate people from each other is the mindset. It's how they think of themselves. You know what I'm saying? How they think of their surroundings, how they think of their environment, the world, how the systems, how things work. A lot of guys in prison, they think that they are inmates. They are the world's bad guys. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to behave like that. They're going to react because that's all they know. They've been incarcerated since they was 18 years old, in and out.
Right.
So, that's just, it's as simple as that, the mindset. You know what I'm saying? So they all fit. Man, I've met some smart people in prisons, smarter than civilians. Most people in prison have more time to think, more time to be aware. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen people create things I've seen microwaves created. I've seen You know what I'm saying? Tattoo. You already know they got the tattoo pen and
Mm-hmm.
irons. People create an iron. I'm like, man, what? Like some scientists and laboratories. And like, man, some smart people in there. But um, we all the same, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what we think of ourselves and what we think about our surroundings. And
So go ahead.
also what we think other people think about us.
Right.
You see, so that plays a big role into a lot of people's reality that I saw,
Mm-hmm.
in there. So
I guess this would be my last question. What is your overall take on the mental health in the Black community right now? Like from your people watching perspective, what have you saw? What are your feelings? Like any thoughts towards it at all?
mental health, not more into having a psychological or disease type uh, subject or situation, but more into understanding, being aware, or knowing truth. Um, Kids in our Black community, they tend to develop low self-esteem in academics. Whenever you ask a kid to read, or most kids, what's this or what's this? I don't know. I'm like, why you say you don't know? What's your opinion? It doesn't matter if you're wrong. Speak up. Tell me what you do know. Tell me what you think. You see, most kids in the Black community, they don't have that confidence to even just speak what they do know, because they're so afraid of being wrong. They're so afraid of not knowing. You see? So I think if we can start developing the kids and giving them more experiences, that gives them more confidence in an environment where they can open up and say whatever they think, or use their imagination and not be ridiculed or criticized. Kids gonna criticize kids regardless. They're gonna do that to each other. But us as parents and us as leaders and influencers, I think we should uh, develop an environment where the child can be open and expressive. I think that's big as far as it being in the Black community. Also, as parents, just being open to truth, true news. I like the Bible, it's called the good news. You know what I'm saying? But watching TV, like the news, Fox and NBC and see all this, man, that's not news, man. That's not, and that goes back to even my grandmother was watching news and y'all be quiet, the news on. I'm looking like I still want to, misbehave, but just seeking truth, you know, finding out what really is true. Like I was looking at this video today, and it was called the Secret. It's a video that came out some years back, and it was about the secret, the law of attraction. And just, how many people in our Black community don't even know about the law of attraction? Only law they know is have a right to bear arms. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. So just things like that, things about life, things about how to live, just getting past the old um, slave 1900 mentality and opening your mind up to a new way of living, how we really supposed to live, how we really supposed to be cultivated as a community, or tribes or whatever it's supposed to be, have our own neighborhoods, and not fearing. A lot of older people, once you get past the age 30 on to 40, it's like they fear to do things again. They fear to do things that's abnormal, to travel. I don't have the money. Well, do you know if you take 2 or 3 people, you get a 50% discount, and it's 3 times less than what you think, they just cut it off just like that. So as far as the adults and stuff, just fear, man, getting past that fear, so.
No, that's pretty much what I mean. Most people think when I do this podcast, it's about like depression, anxiety, and suicide. And those things do matter too. And those things, I feel like that's out of my league as far as that. That's where a therapist and a person come in. But there's some mid-level things in between going to therapy and the actual community that I think needs to be discussed amongst, like you said, having fear. That's not something you need to go to therapy about. You just it gotta be put into you and be built up into you. And some of us don't have that being built into us daily. And when you were saying that, I was thinking about, I'm like, some of these kids got parents that are the biggest bullies of them. So that's why they so fearful to be wrong. Because it's like if they in their household, if they wrong, they could be getting a whooping or something crazy. So it's just a whole mindset behind all of that stuff that needs to be rearranged and changed around. And I'm hoping through like just hearing, like someone hearing your story, they'll know that one mistake can change their life, or or like not being a proper man in a relationship could get you to going somewhere that you don't need to be going, or how you got to rebuild that connection with your kid. Like, it's so many things that could go wrong. And I commend you for sharing your story, bro, because it's well needed and well necessary. You didn't have to do anything. The way you're living your life now and how you are trying to impact the world is very commendable, bro. Like, I really respect it.
Oh yeah. And a lot of times, man, mistakes gonna happen in life. Like, we all, have been there where we thought she was pregnant, or, we growing up and we being around the wrong crowd. You may go into the store, steal some snacks or something stupid. We all have done stupid things along the way, but it's how you bounce back from it. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's where you learn the lesson, and you kind of reap fruit from it. You reap a benefit from it. Every lesson has a benefit. A lot of times we think we just want to get through the lesson, but sometimes you receive, or double good comes back from that one bad that you did. You be like, man, that's what's up. That's the way life is. That's the way the laws, work. So.
One more question before we go, because that's my official. I just thought about it. I was supposed to talk about it. You touched on it a little bit, but what impact did your father not being in your life have on you?
What impact did it have on me?
Yeah.
It had a big impact, man. As far as identity, knowing who I was, you can see who you are through your father. You can learn your strengths. You can learn your weaknesses. You may not see it as a child, but around teenage, 18, 19, you start to see your parents' faults around that age. So I could have learned from him. And I was blessed to have my granddaddy around, my grandpa. He taught me how to work, taught me how to improvise, make something out of nothing. He taught me everything you need is around you. You just got to look for it and see it. And patience. So, but it impacted me in that way, having another father figure, or someone that was older. He was old enough to be my great granddaddy, to be honest. And that kind of molded me in a different way. But not having my father around, that really pushed me to read the Bible more too. Because when I would read the book of Proverbs, and it's saying, son, listen to thy father's word, heed thy mother's instruction. I'm heeding it like it is my father talking to me, because I've yearned to hear these words my whole life. Listen, son, so those type of things kind of propel me forward into a different person. And now I'm in a position where I'm going, even though my father is successful, where I'm going, he don't have the experience to lead me along the way, you see? And he hasn't been where I'm trying to go in, because he's always worked for somebody. He's always, been like an engineer working in that type of field. Not saying that he can't give me advice, he can, but it's limited. So it has pushed me to be my own person and to find out who I am. It influenced me in that way, more positive than negative, to be honest, man. And it gave me that strength to know, man, it matters being there for your kids. It matters. So that's what keep me going. Because I said, I never have my kids to go through this, to feel this. I died before. If for me to not be there, I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? So,
No, it's funny that you said that because it's been sitting on my mind lately. I don't know if I told you, but I'm pretty sure I did. I reached back out to my father and like we've been
Wow.
talking and building a relationship, but it's still a little rocky and shaky. And
Yeah.
it's funny because, like you said, you see yourself through your father, and he's taught me more not being in my life than being, because he showed me what not to do.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because till this day, I still, you still yearn for that attention. Because even though I'm in my late 20s, about to approach my 30s,
Mhm.
it's still some stuff in my 30s I don't know, my 40s I don't know, and
Yeah.
he's
Exactly.
and he's
Exactly.
always gonna be 25, 30 years ahead of me,
Exactly.
and it's like you're still yearning, and it's sad because it's like he still is being inconsistent up to this day. And it's still messy. It's like, yo, dude, you have a chance, and it's like it's sad as a man, you still yearn for that attention. It's
Yeah.
still yearn for, and I guess it's not sad, but you can never turn that off. Like
You can't.
as much as you want to, because it's like I want to not be mad that you inconsistent, but
Hmm.
I'm still hurt by it, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I'm the same way because I want to know what not to do for
mm-hmm,
based off of your mistakes. Give me the game, Pop.
mm-hmm,
You know what I'm saying? Tell me what, because certain things we never been there before. You know, we've never been a father for two kids and married 10 years, and then boom, a financial trouble hit, or boom, something happened, my wife gets sick. We never been there before. So you need somebody to give you that type of guidance or wisdom based off of their experiences and stuff, what to do. But I, my father the same way. Some things he don't tell me because of his pride, or he may not want me to know about his weaknesses or failures or mishaps because I'm his son. But you got to spill it, man. The chain, the generation has to be greater than the one before. I want my
mm-hmm.
son to not make the same mistakes, to have a little more knowledge and understanding than I. But if I don't share certain things with him, if I'm not transparent, that's it. It's just the cycle, the
Continue.
generational curses, or whatever we want to call it, continues
Mm-hmm.
on, or it gets worse. So,
On
yep.
that on that note, tell everybody where to follow you at, to get in touch with you so they can get some transformational coaching.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You can check me out on Instagram. It's all the same. JM Joe M Burnett. Facebook Joe M Burnett, and Twitter as well, Joe M Burnett. I'm starting up my website. It's www.truelifecoaching.com. You can go on there, put in your email address, and get in contact with me then, and I'll be happy to help you. All right.
I appreciate you for coming on, Joe. And like always, guys, this podcast is not a replacement to therapy. It's alternative to therapy. It's a place for people to share therapeutic stories. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow on whatever you're listening on. See you next week.